Hello, hello. Where did that go down, man? All right, we're getting ready to start in a minute. Light's just clearly too close.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
We're getting there.
Getting there. Exciting.
Very exciting. That's something. All right, hang on. We're getting there. All right, let's see what we got. Hi, welcome to the call.
Good afternoon.
Hi. Who's that on the iPhone? Is that Jazz?
That's me. Yeah, this is Jewel.
Hey, Jules.
Hey, Joel.
Hey. How are you
Good
guys?
afternoon, Gil.
I'm gonna.
Hey, good afternoon.
We'll get started in just a second. Yeah, Gil, I messed up the lighting in here big time, so
Sorry, Gil.
fix that in post.
You don't have enough room for light right there. You're too close.
I know. I know these things. Try to get Amy to listen. I can't do it.
You can't work out of a closet.
I know. I got to get out of the closet. I hear you. That's funnier when you say it that way. All right, let's see if that's any better. That's a little better. Not really. Dang.
No.
There you go. That's a little better.
Yeah.
I never know. Might actually work. Give it another minute for everybody to show up. Got a few people waiting on. That might be a little better like that. I don't know. We'll see.
Getting there.
It's ridiculous. What I got in here going on right now is ridiculous. But all right. It's only because whatever. crazy for even trying all this. That's any better. We'll see. All right. Okay. So far, so good. Do one of these in a minute. Let's see if I'm gonna. We're just gonna keep trudging down the trail, and then we'll get down the direction we're getting. But hopefully, hopefully where we're at, where we're going is making sense. So a couple of things I'm gonna do. We're gonna start with where we left off. I'm gonna put that in the chat. And we're talking about data management. So before we even get into like actually creating customizations, understanding that you cannot import data in your system that doesn't exist, like it doesn't have a place, right? And that's really the message in this whole Salesforce training, is that everything has a place, and you put the right thing in the right place so that you can find it, you can use it, and you can then be more effective because of it. Now, we talked about importing data before. I know we looked at the trail for import data, and I just want to come back to that because there are two standard ways. Standard meaning it is hardwired, built in, comes with the package, no matter what package you get in Salesforce. And there are two ways to import data. One is Data Loader. The other is Data Import Wizard. And like many wizards, all wizards have special powers, but they're all limited. So the reason I'm telling you that is because in the administrator test, they're going to ask, make sure you understand the difference between Data Import Wizard and Data Loader. So the Import Wizard only brings records in, and Data Loader will bring it in or bring it out. Brian, welcome to the call. We're just doing a little welcome recap of where we left off. So importing data comes in Data Loader and Import Wizard. The Import Wizard has special powers, but they're limited, right? And the challenges that you'll come in encounter with Data Import Wizard are really some of the basic challenges. Does the data match the type of data that I'm collecting in my fields? And this leads us to when we start creating custom fields, you create the type of data that that field holds. Okay, hashtag stop using spreadsheets. One of the things I hate about spreadsheets is that you can put anything in a cell, right? And you could call it a number, you could call it a date, you could call it a time, you could call it all those things, and that's fine. And in order to make that spreadsheet shareable and usable, then you didn't have to like lock all that down because users will mess it up. Well, Salesforce is the same thing, except it's much harder for a user to mess something up. And it's more user-friendly for them to actually use the data. So understanding how the Import Wizard can bring records in, you start to understand that there's types of data. The types of data have to match in order for them to synchronize, in order for it to bring data in bulk. The data types have to match, the data, parameters. Also, if you're going to have data in a spreadsheet that you're uploading, you have to have a place for it in your org. And that's true no matter whether you're importing or exporting data. Now, we'll talk more about some of the ways it happens, but the Import Wizard also has some special features, like it'll check for duplicates as it's wizarding people in, records in. It'll take a little time and make sure that the record doesn't already exist based on whatever matching fields that you say would match in order for it to be a duplicate, and then it'll prevent that duplicate. Again, it's a special power. Data Loader is going to take all the records, push them in your system where you say to push them, and you deal with it inside Salesforce from that point. Now, as a matter of fact, we're going to jump into Import Wizard and talk a little bit more about some of these features, because it's critical you understand how data is structured before you start importing and exporting data. So a couple other things about the data import wizard is because it is a wizard, it's got special powers, it's limited in that it can only do 50,000 records at a time. So if you have a bigger file of more data that you can import, you got to break that data up in 50,000 record files and then make sure each one's exact except for the records, and then map that in. The other thing it can do too is as it brings a record in, it can either turn on automation rules that you have set up or turn those things off. Now, we haven't gotten to automation rules yet, but just know that there are things like lead automation for the assignment of a lead or a case, or the response to a lead or a case. You could have any number of custom automations that you bring into your org in terms of records that meet a criteria. You know, then you take this regular specific action, which, by the way, is one of the benefits of any type of Salesforce automation. Really, the benefit of all computers. I'll make my pitch for computers in that anything you find yourself doing over and over again, I would encourage you to look for a way to automate that. Why? Because that's the nature of productivity. You can produce more in less time, right? And that's really just anytime you catch yourself doing the same thing over and over again. One of the challenges is we don't, as humans, we don't always stop and pay attention to those things that we're doing. We're just trying to get things done. And depending on the level of attention you put on that will be the level of innovation that you can actually create to solve problems that, you know, really are a 21st century problem, right? Trying to save keystrokes is a 21st century problem. The other thing to remember is that if you have more complex data import, export, mapping needs, there probably is something out on the App Exchange that would help you do that. So there are different, depending on your business requirements, just know that there are different types of tools beyond these, but these are on the test. But because this isn't just a test prep class, we're going to go into some of those, or if you have Q&A on those. Now, I know Q&A, you weren't invited to any Q&A sessions the last couple of weeks. And for a variety of reasons, it's because we didn't simply schedule them. And, or we scheduled them, but I discovered that we didn't invite you to any of them, which is fine, because I don't know if you had any questions or not. So here's my reminder to you. If you have a question, email me the question. Put the question in chatter when I finally get that working. Or just ask it during this class, or schedule a time with me to answer that question, and I'll do that. So the Q&A will come to life again soon. On my calendar, Wednesdays at noon have been a little problematic for scheduling purposes. So let me know if there's a better time. You can put it in chat, or you could just email me. Would 4 to 5 on Wednesdays be a good time? So we have Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, which is 1 hour on Wednesday, or just schedule a Q&A session with me if you need it, and we'll just do it that way. But the point of the Q&A is to say, hey, I know what you went over was this, but I have this problem. Let's work it out together. And that creates content for me, interesting questions to help guide me direct where some of you may need help or whatnot. And I get to answer your question. Like, that's the most important thing, right? Whatever you can do in your org, you want to answer it, always just ask. That's just what you need to know about you in this class. So let's talk more about, so we did the exercise. If you completed the challenge, so go to your participant link in the Zoom meeting, and by your name, give me either you did it last class, or you did not do it, or you did it some other time, or, you know, you did or did not do it at all. Just let me know with a green checkbox or a red no next to your name whether you completed this particular challenge. And the reason I'm asking that is because if you haven't, then I want you to do it now. And I want to kind of make sure that if you have any questions about data importing, about what the wizard does, then now would be a good time to make sure you cover that. Because then we're going to cover exporting. Okay, if you didn't do it, great. No, okay, good. It's 2 out of 4. That's half. Haven't completed it, which is fine. Because we'll do it again. So I want to make sure. Is everybody ready? Can you get to where you can do it? I'm going to clear all the answers. Gil and Brian, I'm going to assume that your answer is in agreement with everybody else's because you didn't say anything differently. All right, we got a chat. Yeah, just the import data, at least. Just the import data. If you did, great, because you can't do it enough. Yeah, so that could happen too. Like you could have problems importing the CSV file. Something, it could be anything that's problematic with it, right? And look, I spent all weekend, I got a new customer that I'm setting up on Essentials for some crazy deal that I gave. I've already blown all the money on the deal, probably getting someone else to do this for him. But, you know, he's got a record file of 345,000 records. Okay, divide that, that's 7 different uploads, but wait, there's more. I really have to upload half of that data twice because one's a parent account, one's the other, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, you know, even still, 7 separate uploads is dangerous because things happen to Excel files in even simple processes. So it's, I'm still not done with it. I got to talk to him again today. He's got a different file and trying to make it smaller. I'm like, okay, great. He went from 100 megabytes to 50. And so we'll talk about data loader and how that goes. So let's go back. So if you haven't gotten to the trail, I think this is the one. I'm going to make sure I'm going to put it back in there. And make sure everybody gets it. So same trail. We're doing the data import. So this is the actual module. There's trails, modules, lessons. This is the trail, the module called import data. Let's do it again. So if you haven't, go to the challenge and we're gonna retake the challenge. If you've already done it and you wanna do something else, give us about 10 minutes and then come back or watch, right? Because it's fascinating. So let's look and see. So we have to, so Jules, if you're on a Mac, there's a little bit of a problem with them sometimes with a Mac. So if you're on a Mac, let me know, open up your mic, we'll talk about it. But you should be able to save the link right to your desktop. Now mine's the same file name, so I'm just gonna click save. And then we're gonna import that data into my developer edition. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to open up my Trailhead Playground. I opened up a new playground for this. I think I did a playground for this. Doesn't matter which one. Did we lose everybody? Hold on. Wow. Where's my Zoom? Am I sharing? I'm not sharing. My screen lost its mind. There's my playground. There's my trail. So I'm going to do my little thing where I make my screen a little smaller so I can fit both. I was on a trail. I'm using a different playground because I think I already imported this file. Why are you doing that, man? Sorry, my crazy external monitor decided to just disconnect, just on its own. I'm done with this class. No more classing. Okay, let's see if it stays put. All right. So I downloaded it And so in order, depending on how I'm going to import it, let's just go the standard way. Let's go to setup. Whoops. I'm going to click on setup. That's the little gear at the top right-hand corner. If you're not familiar with it yet, you will, don't worry. You'll do it enough. Click on setup. And I love how they added the service setup. That came from Essentials, by the way. I'm going to do import wizard. There's my data import wizard. And in a minute, it's going to pop up and I'm going to launch the wizard. I literally checked my internet speed. And I was cranking, this is me cranking at it. Look at this. 280 megabytes per second. Okay, here we go. So we're going to launch the wizard. And here's a couple points I'm going to make out to you just because it relates to the test, but also it's just good to know. So I'm launching the wizard. It's loading up. So again, you've got, if you can see my screen okay. Now, my screen is a little squished than yours might be because of the, right? So I've got standard objects and custom objects. Any custom objects that you have, Data Import Wizard will import it. Why? Because it's only limited, but it doesn't say some custom objects, it says custom objects, which implies all of your custom tables of data. Depending on the addition of Salesforce, how many of those you can create. But my standard objects, I want to pay very close attention. Remember, standard is hardwired. These are standard objects that you can use the import wizard to import. Let's look at the ones that are not there that are critical to most of the operations in an organization. What's not there is opportunities. What's not there is products. What's not there is price books. What's not there are cases. Those are pretty standard objects, but not the ones that Salesforce uses for import wizard. Import wizard's only used for accounts, contacts, leads, solutions, and members of a campaign. And you might say, well, why does that matter? Because it's on the test. And if you did data import wizard every day and you imported other things other ways because you imported opportunities and those things, you'd already know it. And that's what they're testing for. They're testing for your applicable knowledge. So why it's good is that what that means is you should probably, if you don't do a lot of importing, this is something you should just highlight and say, I need help with this on the test. But we'll do a test review when we cover all the material. For those of you that want to get certified, we'll make sure that those weeks, all we're doing is practicing and analyzing tests so that you get a good sense of what the test is like, why right answers are right, why wrong answers are wrong, and how to decipher between the two when you don't know the answer exactly. There's ways to like let the test show you how by some core things that I've repeated over and over and over again. This is one of them. Some standard, because every wizard has limitations. So again, I want you to think of that image of, Merlin in the movie Excalibur. He could do the dragon's breath and then he was tired and he forgot, right? So wizards have limitations and controls. Okay, so we're going to import this as use name. So this is going to be accounts and contacts. How do I know? Because it's all there is, not leads. Now, a couple of things you can do. I'm on step 2. I've checked step 1, and it might be hard to see on my monitor, but I've checked step 1, accounts and contacts. So it's going to ask me, are you adding new records, updating existing records, or both? And typically I do both because all it does is it gives me different choices about what I'm going to enter in. How do I match the contact? Well, contacts typically are matched by name and email or either one or both. So I typically go by email. In this one, it says use name for matching, but we'll do that. Match accounts by what's called name and site. So in Salesforce, on your account records, it may or may not be on the page, but one of the standard fields is account site. So if you've got Walgreens, that's the account, but how many sites do they have? Nearly or more than 6,000 different locations, right? So site is a location. Site could also be first floor, second floor, third floor, fourth floor, fifth floor, depending on how you record your customers' account data. So that's a matching tool. And I'm pointing it out again, because I know that question has been on the test before, because I've taken dozens of the tests. I usually take practice tests with every class that I teach in the 5-day class. So name and site is another one. You don't need to do it. And remember, I said it's got special powers. It can trigger workflows and processes. You could assign users to a campaign if you had campaigns, or, and that's new. So that's a new file. That's a new way to do it. Now, when you're ready, you can take that file that you downloaded. Where did I download it to? Yep. So I'm taking the file. Is that a CSV file? Hang on a second, make sure I have the right. So I'm taking the file. I downloaded it, but I need to, what you ought to do is first is always open it. So I'm going to open Excel first, now that I know where the file's located. So here I am in Excel. I mean, Excel's good for stuff, but not data. I mean, it's good for data stuff. So now I'm going to open that file. Look at all files. I can see I've got that contacts to import. It's going to ask me how it's delimited because it's just a text file. So I'm delimited by comma. So I'm going to check comma. That'll bring in each column and row as a distinct field. I'm going to finish that. And you notice I've got F name, L name, and I just happen to know. I'm going to make that mobile, email, citation, title. Now remember I talked to you about owner. So if you don't say the owner, then you're going to be the default owner. So for this file, we're going to leave it alone because I'm in a new org and I'm not even sure it's going to be right. So let me do this. I'm going to save as, and I'm going to save it as a CSV file. Contacts to import. And I think that's a 2. I'm going to save it. The reason is 2 because I did one last Friday. But again, I can't go over this import stuff enough because it gets hard. The exercise is easy, but the application of it can be kind of hard. So now that I've got the file, I can click and drag the file. So again, you guys are like mousy. You know, if you're like mouse centric, there's my ready to import. I could just drag the file there, no problem. The ISO is pretty standard for Western cultures, separated by comma. So I'm telling it what to expect from the data. And a couple of good best practices with data. Notice that your mapping may be a little different than mine because my mapping says the first name is mapped to first name already, right? And the last name is not because L name didn't communicate to Salesforce what field it's supposed to put that column of data into Salesforce. So it's now unmapped. So one of the best practices when you prepare your import file is to make sure that your import file names, the column headings match your field names. That just makes it easier for you because the wizard won't remember this, right? If you have the same kind of file every time, and I got to reduce my screen so I can map it. If you get the same kind of file every time, you got to make the same changes because you can't change one or the other. It's just the way it is. This will never remember your your mappings. Now, data loader will, and you could schedule it and do some other things. But the only thing worse than importing lots and lots of records is importing lots and lots of records automatically and then having mistakes happen automatically instead of checking your work. So always check the file like we did. Make sure the data is right. If any columns are blank, take out the column. If there's fields that are blank, that's okay. All right, and when I'm done, I just click next. And I may get a bunch of duplicates if I ask for that. But if you go to previous, it forgets everything. So don't do that. See what I'm missing. All right, so I mapped 6 fields. I did accounts and contacts, adding new records, and I'm ready. I can start the import, and there'll be a place where I can go look to see my bulk data load job page, which will bring me right to when I click OK. It'll take me to that job, and I can see its status, when it started, when it ended. It's only 12 records. It only takes a second. 12,000 records will take a minute or two, right? I mean, depending on how many fields you have and how much mapping there is and how much stuff. So I'm done. So now if I want to see those contacts.
Dominic,
Yes, Jewel.
sorry, I just want to ask. So I basically got stopped on the mapping part.
Yeah, what happened?
And then when I press next, it says like it's mapped to like the wrong, because basically there's a drop down menu for where to map.
Yep.
So I chose for the contact note for all of them. And I'm
Well,
just
you
getting.
can't map it all to the same field. So hold on a second.
Okay,
Let
sorry.
me see what you did. I'm trying to get back to where you were at on my screen, or you could share your screen. What would you like to do?
I'm actually on my computer separate from my phone, so it's easier just to go through yours if that's all right.
Sure, no problem. So I'm gonna match by name. No. Hold on. There's the records. So when you click next,
Mm-hmm.
you get all these are unmapped.
So just 3 of them are unmapped.
Okay, great. Which
And
one do you have?
Yeah, so I had the first name, last name, and mobile, or the
Okay.
cell.
Oh, hang on a second.
Oh, no worries.
I'm gonna have to employ some paperclip technology on my laptop. My little extra monitor is a wanker. Okay, here we go. All right, so you clicked on where it said map, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So let's go with L name because I have that one unmapped right now. If you click on L name, then you have to find the field to map it to in Salesforce, which would be last name. And it would be contact last name and select that field. Thank you for slowing me down on that. I assumed it was really easy for everybody.
No, that's okay. And
And
then
then
it
hit
says
map.
map to above that. So do you keep it as Salesforce field, or do you change
Correct.
it
Yeah. No, Salesforce field. We're going field to field.
to? Okay.
If it's a field, so the reason you use a note, let's say you've got your old notes field from whatever database you're bringing them in, right? So you don't have a field. You might have a field for old notes, or you might have data from a particular field that's just not, it's just whatever notes that you took. You could map it to a note field. So if you didn't have a place for title, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't want to lose the data, you want to leave a reference, then because I'm importing accounts and contacts simultaneously, it's asking me, okay, if you're going to bring it in as a note, to which record do I add the note? Do I add it to the account record or the contact record? So I would just leave the Salesforce field. For this example, leave the Salesforce field by default because that's what we're doing. I didn't even notice that because I never import notes anyway, not this way. So good catch on the drop downs, Julia.
Well, I guess because when I choose Salesforce field, it actually doesn't let me continue. But if I choose like contact note, it allows me to then map it. So maybe it's because I'm using a Mac.
Did you try the last name with contact, with last name for contact?
Yeah, it allows me to select it, but then it just doesn't let me click out of the
you can't, the map
selection
button.
tab.
Check your screen resolution. This is try hitting the control button and then the minus key and make your screen smaller, because you might be seeing this. You might just be not having access, like you can't get to the button that says okay. So what I did is I reduced my screen magnification so that I could see the map button. Did that happen to you? Because that happened to me.
That could be it. But I can do it. But I don't want to hold up everyone, but I can figure it out.
No, that's perfectly fine. That's why we're doing this, because these are little nuances that happen during this actual process. So until you do it a couple dozen times, you won't know to look for that. So when you click, this is for anybody, if you click the map button and you don't see the green map button at the bottom, then on your keyboard, hit the control key and the minus key. You can also scroll with your mouse. Some of you were saying that. Well, I can just scroll. Well, do what you want. Whatever makes the screen go lesser in resolution, zoom it away, and then you should see the map button. Does everybody see the map button? Jazz, do you see it now? I love Jazz.
It's actually still not there for me, but
At all?
It allows me to select contact last name, and then it just keeps an image of the drop down menu, and yeah, it doesn't have anything but the next button, and then it just gives me an error because obviously I didn't finish it.
So can you see the green map button or the cancel button next to it?
No, it's not showing up for me.
Okay, you got to keep demagnifying your screen. So control minus, keep going until you see it.
Yeah, let me just play with it, and I'll see if it's still not working.
That's it. That's all there is. You got to try that. That's all there could be. As far as I know, that's all it could be. Otherwise, I got to see your screen.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'll figure it out.
Okay, no problem. I'm just saying I don't know what else it could be if you can't see it. It's always traditionally been that magnification piece. So that's just what it happens. That's what it happens to be. I promise you. So just keep looking, try to control. Want to make sure you can do that, because it should be it. All right, what are you doing there, buddy? And browsers do stupid things. So if something doesn't work, refresh the page. Like that's always been a thing with all browsers, really. F5 to stay alive. Okay, now when you look at those, I think I created a list view for my accounts. I can say new this week, let's say. It may not have brought them in. Let me try different. So did mine not come in at all? Maybe they're just contacts came in. So now look, let's just check it out. I don't even remember the contacts. So
Can you continue to screen share, please?
oh, did I stop?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, my computer monitor does that goofy thing. Okay. So if I go to that screen share, we got John Dodge, Sarah Smith, George Dapper. Let's see where these guys are. There he is, George Dapper. All right, good. So I want to make sure they're there. These are their names in that little raw file. Now I'm going to take you to dataloader.io. Now dataloader.io is a web version of Data Loader. So if we go back to your setup menu and go to home and type in Data Loader, there will be a link eventually, Data Loader, to download Data Loader to your desktop. This is not cloud software. This is actual software that runs on your PC or Mac. Now I got to tell you, the story goes that Mark Benioff, the CEO of Salesforce, whose logo was the Ghostbusters around software, like no software, that was the logo, was very shocked and amazed to find out that they had written software, whatever side it's on, I don't know what side it's on, it's over here where I'm looking at it, written software for Salesforce. Like this is software on your computer. You download it and you open Data Loader on your computer, it'll look like this. This is the more appropriate look. Can y'all see that? So that's software. The problem is that we're a no software company. We're all cloud, so it's all browser based. Well, now they have a thing called dataloader.io. Fundamentally the same, just a web version. Fundamentally the same, different limitations, similar, but a little different. So the Data Loader software, you can only use with, I don't think it'll work with the Essentials Edition. That's for you, Brian, and me, and Amy. The Essentials Edition, I don't think it works for. Dataloader.io does. Data Loader loads data in and out. So let's look at some of the things it'll do. It'll insert, which is basically new, import new. Update, which is adding records to, adding new data to existing records. So you're not creating a duplication, you're just updating information. And then the combination, upsert. I'm doing a little bit of both. Things that have an existing record in Salesforce, I update whatever data is in my spreadsheet. Those that don't have an existing record in Salesforce, I just create a new. So I get a new record and an updated record simultaneously. I typically, little dirty little secret, I typically only do upserts unless I absolutely know it's a new, because why bother thinking about it? You know, I don't want to separate the two. If there's just one record that's in there that's existing, that's an upsert. The other 499,999 that I'm using Data Loader for, because they can do up to 5 million, you create them new, no problem. Figures it out really easy. Now, there's a couple of extra things with Data Loader. Remember, it's load in, load out, load in, load out, load in, load out, dump truck, data load, dump in, pull out, dump in, pull out. I can also delete records from here. Can't do that with Import Wizard. All Import Wizard does is wizardly import. That's all it does is wizardly import. Wizardly imports. That's why it's called Data Import Wizard. No other powers but importing powers. Now, when it says hard delete versus a regular delete, it has to do with the recycle bin. A hard delete deletes records and removes them from the recycle bin. This is another little thing that happens to be on the test. You need to know. When you delete records in Salesforce, if you have that ability, which I don't recommend anybody have, you've got 15 days before the recycle bin automatically purges those. So on the test, you'll see a question that says, you know, how long will records stay after I delete them? Not worded that way, it's too easy. But in this example, for that test question, it's up to 15 days. Why do I say up to? Anybody want to take a guess why I say up to 15 days? Because I could do a hard delete and delete them right now. I don't have to wait 15 days. So up to means without any other interventions, it'll automatically delete in 15 days. The other two things I can do is export or export all. So because delete and hard delete have something to do with the recycle bin, so does export and export all. So if I have data that meets a particular criteria, and that data meets the criteria of the records in the table that I'm exporting, plus the recycle bin, it'll export all records that meet that criteria. So it's a kind of a way to save yourself. If you delete a bunch of records and you want to export all that, you could just export everything that you deleted. Just do an export all. That way you keep a copy of it in case you have to bring it back in, which, by the way, you might have to do when you start messing around with data. So although you won't be tested on how it works, I'm just going to show you really quickly using, for example, if I was going to do an insert, I'll just do upsert. You notice I can decide whether I'm doing it in production or sandbox. So that already tells you. And then whether it's password or OAuth, which means some type of single sign-on, like you're already logged in. Now, data loader IO does the OAuth. Don't worry about it. Just know that most times you'll do password production. So I am gonna. You don't have to do this because I'm logged in here. When I go to dataloader.io, when I click login with Salesforce, because it's web to web, browser to browser, I can just click login, and it's going to look for my username. And I did that on purpose. I did it because I didn't want it. There's a harder way to go find your username. So that username, remember, usernames are unique. They're formatted like an email, but they're not a real email. A unique field across the entire ecosystem. So if I allow Salesforce based on that username, I can only go to one place. So that's why it's allowing that for dataloader.io. Now, I did that so that I could figure out my username. I already know my password. I use the same password for all these. So now it's basically going to login.salesforce.com with this username and that password. And again, you could load up your developer account, your username password, Dominic X January 2020 at superhero.com, whatever your DAC, plus January 2020 at superhero.com, you can see that that would work. Now, something went wrong. My password. I don't think it's my real password, so I'm actually going to do that. Put Dominic X plus. I think that one will do it. Oh, it's DAC. So picky. Everything's got to be exact. Computers are so stupid. They only do exactly what you tell them. Nope, I got something else wrong. What else? Okay, you got to log in. If it doesn't work, you can't do it. It works the same exact way. I'll come back and get to it. I just got to get this on. All right, so in dataloader.io, you have what's called tasks. Now, these are just videos on how to do it. So you're always welcome to do that. I can import, export, or delete. So I'm going to import. I decide whether it's an insert, upsert, or update. So let's go back to my file for a second. And let's say that I'm going to open up that file and I'm going to change. I'm going to change the owner. Let me check real quick. You would obviously know this, by the way, like the back of your hand. Just in case you didn't. One. Oh, that's the wrong one. There we go. In the background, let me look for my users. I don't know if I created a new user or not, but doesn't matter. I want to make sure I pick one of my users. You would know who your users are, by the way, if you were already administering, if you were going to decide on who's doing what. So you could just watch me do this. You know, that's something you need to do. But in my database of users, ada.va, that her alias? Let's look and see. Abel. That would be our actual alias. I think both will work. So what am I doing? I'm going to do an update. I'm going to use data loader to do it. This is an update. So I'm going to change the owner to Ada. Ada. Just going to copy that. So now, when I save that file, and go to my import wizardry, right? I'm gonna bring this into contacts. And again, I got to change my screen resolution. So I pick the object. Now here's the other thing about data loader. You can only pick one object at a time for anything that you do. So it's not the most elegant solution if you've got 697 objects that you want to update all the time. You need something more robust, more intuitive, more everything gets done from one system to another. And believe me, there's no limit to the tools Salesforce has to make that happen. There's only a limit to the amount of money you can spend to buy the access to those tools. But it really depends on how worth it is to you, right? Most of us in this little level here, for small businesses, will use a tool called Zapier. Zapier is a pretty reliable tool. It's not 100% reliable, but you can go manage it to pick up any errors, depending on the frequency at which you get zapped. It's a great tool, like you want to move a record from one place to another and synchronize them, you can do it. So here I'm going to upload that same CSV, but this time now I'm uploading it and my mapping looks a little different. Now remember, data loader is dummy in that it just takes the records and it moves them from one place to another. So it's smart in the way it does that. It's dumb in everything else that it does around it, but smart enough to remember the mappings. Smart enough that you could schedule, if it's the same dumb thing, you can schedule it and it'll just do the same dumb thing over and over. Import, output, import, export, import, delete, import, export, output, whatever you want it to do, it'll just on a schedule. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to map. So first name, map to first name. It picked that up. But L name didn't because those names didn't match. Again, the auto magic piece of this remembers. So wherever you see the word select, you have to select the field that you want to map it to. And it's the same thing. So last name, and then you just select that field and then move on to the next one. Mobile should be mobile. I was looking for mobile phone. And by the way, doing this helps you get familiar with what the computers think the names of your fields are. So if you go through it once on this side and you look at what the fields are named, then the next time, if you name your column headings the same as the field, whoop, it automatically matches because computers are dumb. They can do anything that matches exactly what's expected. Now, in my owner field, now I have to look up owner. Looking up for the owner ID, look up via, this is a fun one. So the user full name. So I want to make sure you get this. So the record doesn't actually store Ada's name, right? The contact record doesn't store Ada's name. It stores the identifier of the Ada's name record, the owner's record. That's the Salesforce ID. So it says what owner ID what field do you want to match with the owner? So it's looking for an ID and says, how do you want to find the ID? Do you know the number? Most people don't. You know people's names. That's the nomenclature, right? The name. So I said, look up via, and I could choose it via anything that was on those records that matched the owner's information that I could then bring in that owner ID. So we're going to do it as use first match if multiple results. Mark record with an error, or insert a null value if nothing is done. These are decisions you need to make whenever you have these kind of matching scenarios. So again, a little bit advanced, but once you get the hang of it, you'll understand, oh, these tables are connected through these Salesforce IDs. And as long as I have the ID, I have access to the whole record and any other records that it's connected to. So look, it looks like I've got my first name matched to first name field, my last name matched to my L name field, my mobile phone matched to my mobile field, my email to email, salutation to salutation, title to title. And then the owner is what I'm doing is I'm upserting, right? I'm changing the owner from me to Ada. So I'm going to click OK. Salesforce ID object. I did that to myself. So I got to go back and call it an insert. I'm sorry, upsert. So it's no longer looking for that. Still got the file, use existing contacts. Still has saved the mappings. Now, I don't know if this didn't happen to you, but it's happened to me. If you go back previous, hit those little previous buttons in Data Import Wizard, the wizard loses its mind and says, you got to start all over. So if you forget something in the mapping and you got to go back, you have to remap because the Import Wizard doesn't remember mapping. Data Loader does. So now that I'm done, all right, so you know what? I'm going to go back and just call it an insert because I don't have any of that data. I could get that data. You want to see an export? Like, why don't I show you how to do that? So let's see. I ran into this problem. This is a real life problem. I'm trying to update the owner, but that data file doesn't have any matching information. So what I need to do is I need to take the data that I just uploaded with Import Wizard, export it, make a change, and put it back. So let's do that. So I wanted to show you the real world, like that's what really happens in life. You import data, you as the admin didn't have an owner to assign it to, so they all got assigned to you. It's more than 14 records because we could in real life, we could do this a couple different ways. But in this example, we're going to pretend it's too many records to do manually or the ways that I was going to tell you to do it later. Let me show you how to get one way to get it done. So I could create a new task. Let me export these records. I'm going to export my contact records. I need the contact ID. That's a Salesforce unique identifier. For every record in Salesforce has an ID, a Salesforce ID. For contacts, it's the contact ID. For accounts, it's the account ID. For opportunity, you get the hang of this, it's the opportunity ID. For your custom table, it's the Salesforce ID of that custom table. So all I really need is the contact ID for all of these records. But I'm going to also, because we're human and we need to see it, I'm going to go ahead and put in their first name, their last name, hold on, let me do owner. The contact owner ID. And I'm building what's called a SQL query. So my contact ID, first name, last name, and then the owner ID. That's all I need. I don't need all the rest. I could do the email. I could do the phone. Mobile phone of the contact. You don't need to export all that data. You just could. If you needed it to match visually or whatnot, you could. So now I'm going to export these records and I'm going to add them. Now I'm just going to click save and run. So notice I'm saving this operation and I can run it. So I'm doing an operation called the contact export. Now I just exported all my contacts because I don't think there's that many in there. And I could have added, oh, actually what I meant to do was set up the SQL query, which I didn't do. So let me do that now. Let me see something about my contacts. I got 40 of them. Let me add my create date. Okay, so I got some created today. I think those are the ones that fit the criteria. So yeah, Alice Black, Basil, Juniper Sal. Yeah, these look like the ones that I created today. 127 looks like perfect. So not now, let me load more data. Let me go back and edit this because that exported all the contacts. So for this one, I'm going to leave it the contact and leave the upsert. But here I have to do what's called a SQL query. Again, because I'm exporting, I don't necessarily want all the records. This is all the records that I want to change. So while the first thing I did exported all the contacts, so I have all my contact information in one list, I now want to filter the list. So I use what's called a SQL query. If you're familiar with SQL, it's the same thing. Salesforce just calls it SQL because that's what they do. So what am I going to do? The contact, I want the created by the created date to equal February 10th. And then I add that as a criteria. So I could add more criteria that the owner's Dominic Karuba. Like I want to filter out, I mean, if I got an up and running organization and I don't typically add contacts manually, then I want all the contacts that get created today are going to get exported, but I only want the ones that I'm the owner. So I could actually do master record, owner, ID. Oh, I need owner name. Owner ID is going to be a number. Where's my owner? That's the master record. Go back to the contact. I don't know if that'll work. So I'm not going to add it. Let's just leave it as they were created on 210. And I just got to play with the data. This isn't a perfected exercise that I wanted to do. So I'm going to save and run the results now. And you can see the first one left me with 40 results. That's all my contacts. I have 40 contacts. I don't want all of them. I want the ones just created today. So it's running that task right now. And it'll run, and when it's done, it'll put a little link to say, hey, I'm done. It'll take a second or two to get done. So this is data loader. It's a little more technical, but it does more stuff in terms of importing, exporting, and deleting. So let's see, it's still running. So I'll come back to it in a second. You know, the filter, the right filter is called the owner ID. And problem is that is not on the user page. Typically, you have to go find the ID somewhere. And I'm not sure if it'll work with the name. If I put owner ID, D Carew. Okay, here it is. There's my contact export. If I run it, I had 0 successes. So something went wrong with my query. So let's go back to my query. So it must have been. So let me contact, whoops, so my contact created date, not the created by created date. So I put it on the owner record, my fault. The contact created date equals today, not the contact who created a created date. But that's one way. Maybe you want to pick a user. You pick the date that the user was created because that was a unique, what's unique, right? Because I'm trying to find what's going to be unique in these records so that I can export them. And then we're going to show you an update and then we'll back and upsert them. So that'll take a second. Anybody trying this? I know it's a little off the rails from the data, but it's really not that different. So when you go to the next challenge of exporting data, it's only a 10-minute module per se, because I don't think they run you through the, there's a couple of ways to export data. There's a data export wizard, which basically just sends you a copy of everything that's in your org every month. You can get a link to a complete zip file of that. You can do it once a week if you want to. You can do it every 6 days, depending on the edition that you're in. Now, Data Loader lets you do it to the limits of Data Loader. Now, there's a free version of Data Loader, and then there's a paid version of Data Loader. You can do both, use both. So scheduling the export, we could talk about that because while I'm waiting on this. Okay, so I have my task ran, I have 20 successes. So the difference between no filter, 40 records, the wrong filter, 0 records, and 20 records, no failures, is just a difference of criteria. The computer did what I told it every single time, exactly the way I told it. And I got different results, which means I told it something different. Whether I am aware of it or not, the computer is aware of the zeros and ones that are different. So if I go to download these 20 successes, I just click on the link. I open that up. It'll pop it open in Excel because that's my default program. You can upload to Google Sheets, and you can see that those records take that out. Now, I don't know Ada's owner ID, nor do I care to go find it. But I do know her name, right? That's my email, the owner email. So I'm going to delete all that out. I know that's me. But I'm going to put Ada's name in here. What's her last name? Baloo. I'll put her whole little name in there. Balua. Now remember, I don't know her. I don't know her owner ID. If I did, I'd just plug that number in and life would be grand and no problem whatsoever. Let me save this file. I named it ready to update because that's what I wanted to. I changed the file names from what I got to what I'm ready when I'm done so that I have 2 separate files, the one I started with and the one I changed. So if I screw up something in the process, I can go back to the one I started with. It's just good data practice. So now when I go to Data Loader, now I want to create a new task called importing. I'm going to take that same file that I just changed the owner information on, and I'm doing update. I'm going to go to contacts. I'm going to click next. I'm going to upload CSV, wherever I put it. There it is, ready to update. It's going to map the fields. It's just a dumb program. Where do you want me to put this column data, each field? So I've got a contact ID that it needs. I'm going to look up the contact ID via. Actually, no, I'm not looking up via anything. It is just the contact ID is the contact ID. I know that's the same because I exported it. So now I imported the same thing. The first name and last name I could even take off. I don't even need. Why? Because like the contact ID drags all that information in. I don't even need it. I could have deleted it. But it just helped me make sure that I had the right records visually. There might be some other indicator. It's only 20 records, so I could do it. And now the owner name, I need to select owner name, but there's only the owner ID. So the contact record doesn't have the owner's, the contact owner's first name, last name, who they report to, all that. That would be more data it would have to hold. It says instead, hey, I got the owner ID. All of that other information is over there on that page. That's the lookup relationship. Look up to the owner, look up to the account, look up to the opportunity, look up to products and see which ones you could choose from or see. So now I'm going to look up via, now I'm looking at the name is the full name. I could have matched my first name. I could have matched my last name. I could have matched, but I'm doing both. And then mark record. So I know that one of my users can own more than one contact. So I don't mind, you know, there won't be more than 2 Adas, right? So that's how you tell. If I'd used Steve and I had 7 Steves, it would match the first Steve. That's what the first one is. If multiple matches is an error, it'd say, hey, I don't know which one to import. Don't import anything. I don't know which owner to give it. Don't import anything. Or if there is no match, just make it blank. Just don't give it an owner field, and that'll be an exception error that we need to go correct. I think, though, for an owner field, just to be clear, you might become the default owner. I think. I don't know. You only have to test it to find out. All right. Does that make sense, everybody? So I'm just taking the record, and I'm changing something that's different. Now I run that. It's going to ask me if I'm sure. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm sure. It ain't my data anyway, not for reals. So when that task is run, the contact update. So I could have used data load of all. I could have imported them all, said, oops, made a mistake, export them, change the data, and then update it again. Happens all the time. If it needs to happen on a regular basis, you need to find a better tool, but this tool will do it. This tool will remember. See how it remembers all of these little tasks? You can edit the task. You can run the task. You can schedule the task. You can delete it, and you can copy it to do something else. Maybe you have a program that downloads automatically a file from QuickBooks, and then you got a program that gets it ready to be imported, and then you have a automatically imported in. Set it all up. It'll all sit out there in your Dropbox or your FTP site, and it'll all work in the cloud. Just tell it where to go, where to drop it off, and pick it up. It's just dumb computer. Does exactly what you tell it. So this one, I had 20 successes, 0 errors. That's like good news. So now, watch this. Here's my contacts that I created. D. Carew is the owner, but Dominic, you said, I know what I said. I said we just updated. It was successful. Why didn't it refresh? Well, I need to refresh my list. Pages don't refresh automatically in Salesforce. Don't freak out. That's the way it's designed. That list won't change until I change pages or refresh the list. So watch. I'm going to refresh the list, and D. Carew is going to change into, hey, Bale. Ta-da! Like magic. But it's not magic. It's just dumb computer stuff. Questions, comments, concerns. So that's moving data in and out of your organization. What we're going to cover, later is how did you create those fields that you put stuff in? How did you know to look for the Salesforce ID and all that kind of stuff, right? But is that a practical example of something you could use today? Now, I want to tell you to be very, just as a rule, like if you're not good at data, like thinking about data, organizing data, managing data, just be confident in the fact that it's somebody is. It's not you. You don't have to be good at it. Somebody else can be good at it. I know I'm not great at it. I'm good, but I'm not great. When data sets get big, when things get out of hand, like I'm good at training it, I think I'm pretty good at showing you how it works. But solving more complex problems can get really gnarly. Like I said, I got a client right now. I'm struggling with it because it's just such a bulk of data, and I don't like the fact that, like, I'm thinking of way too much stuff to just doing what he's telling me, because I don't let clients just do what they tell me because they don't know the right answer. They don't know what to tell me. My job as a consultant and your job as an internal consultant with your companies is to tell people, let me tell you, if you do that, you're going to encounter these problems. If you don't do it, you'll encounter those problems, but they're not as big as these problems. So which set of problems you want? These are those. These are those. Always take those. Take the smaller stack. Okay. Question, comments, concerns? Thank you, Gil. So that's importing and exporting data. If you haven't completed the trailhead piece, let me, can I retake it? Trailer? Retake the challenge? I can't retake the, I wish I could retake the challenge. So, but I will show you what they were talking about with, if you go to setup and type in export, and it'll show up, I promise you. You just have to wait. Sometimes your computers don't actually work as fast as the internet says it does. Ow. So if I do data export, oh, I got my caps lock on. Let me turn that off. And I click on schedule export. You'll see that I can set up a schedule to export my data once every 7 days or once a month, depending on the edition that you have. Let's see. On day one. Okay, so this is a monthly edition. So you can't do this on weekly, but some editions you can. You know, the professional or the essentials edition, it's monthly, and enterprise and unlimited, it's weekly. And you pick the day or the date or the day of the month that you want to run it. And, you know, unless you have just an incredibly unique set of data in other places, I normally just click the include all data. And what happens is on that date and time, within 30 minutes, not exactly when you schedule it, but within 30 minutes of when you schedule it, you're going to get an email with a link to a zip file where you could download all that text data, all a CSV of all your records, all your fields, all your data comes to you every month, so that you've got a month backup. Now, if you need more frequent backups than that, you either have to upgrade your edition to probably twice or twice again what you're paying. So actually, there's a $25 a month edition, a $75, $150, and $300. So whatever edition you have, in order to get it weekly, you got to do the $150 per user, per month. So if there's a solution out there, if you got 50 users that you're paying $75 a month for, and in order to get this one feature to get weekly, you got to pay $70. You got to double your subscription and that's another. So let's see, you had $75 a month times 50 people, another $3,750 a month. You might as well just go to one of these tools like Own Backup, and for like $500 to $1,500 a month, you can just have all this stuff happen in real time. So that's a value proposition that you make between the apps that are out on the App Exchange and whatever's free. Compared to what Salesforce gives you for free, it's not free. Based on your users, there's a calculation you can do. It's called calculus. And that's as far as I go, is knowing it's called calculus. Okay, so that's data export. There's a third way to get data out, and we haven't talked about it much, but the last way to get data out of Salesforce, and this is just because it's on the test, is reports. Reports is a completely manual process. It's a completely manual process. And that is, you have to run the report and you have to export the report, save the export. An automatic process is when every month or every week, Salesforce sends you a complete total backup of your org. You just got to remember, you have to download that zip file within 48 hours of receiving it. So if you're the only one that receives it and you're not around during the time you get it on the whatever day of the month you said to have it, like the first Monday of the month, you're on vacation, you're out to lunch, whatever, you got 48 hours to download that zip file, or it goes away and you got to wait till next month to get a backup of your data. So it's mostly automatic, but you don't get your data until you manually insert yourself. Now, other tools like Own Backup and some other ones like that, you just pay the subscription and they do all the work for you and they make sure it gets done and you don't have to worry about it. But a report will get it, but it's completely manual. So you run the report. Do I have any reports? Oh, come on, man. I don't have any reports yet. It's my Trailhead playground, no reports in it. So the reports, if you create a new report, the problem with a report is that it's not all the data. So if I do accounts, I can report on all my account fields, but look at all the fields. This is all that's in the report right now, and these are all the fields that are available. So the reason I'm showing you that visually, so you get an idea that data export sends you all the data in all these fields. A report, you literally have to create a report with all the fields in it. And just because all the fields you picked on that report type doesn't mean that's all the fields on the object. So later on, when we talk about customizing report types, you can actually pick the fields available for reporting. So you can create report types that don't allow all the data to be exported. So you can keep data private, those kind of things, right? So you can limit the fields. So while reporting does act semi-automatic, that you could subscribe to a report every day, download that report every day, those are all really manual processes. Only the report coming to you in your email is automatic. But if I ran the report, my new accounts report, I'm just showing you a report. You can export a report to get some of the data out. It's manual and it's some. Data loader is kind of automated. But you just have to set up, you literally have to set up a task to export on whatever schedule you want, object by object, which is okay if you only track 3 or 4 objects that you need to back up data for. And then you might be saying, Dominic, I thought Salesforce was in the cloud. I thought Salesforce was awesome. I thought it was the largest CRM on the planet, that everyone uses it. 16% of the companies on the planet use it, which makes it number 1 because it's got that much market share. But why do I need to back it up if Salesforce backs up my data? Because Salesforce ain't the only thing you need to back up. Like, yes, Salesforce Cloud is backed up in 3 places at all times. So your data lives, think of it this way, it lives on your front of your screen, it lives in the bottom of your screen, and it lives somewhere else in the cloud. Like, it's always being replicated. But static export data are snapshots of how your data was before something might have come in and, let's say, yeah, Salesforce keeps a copy of what's happening now. What if somebody hits a button and deletes all your data? Salesforce got 3 copies of that. What if somebody adds 100,000 records to your data? Salesforce keeps a copy of all 3 of that. Where's my data the way it was before the F up? That's what you want a backup of. That's why, depending on the quality of your data and how much you can afford to lose, a week's worth, a month's worth, right? Depending on how much data you process. That's why tools like Own Backup, and I only mention them because they've given me three glass beer mugs so far in my relationship with them over the last 3 years. So I tend to get one every year. I like them. There are other solutions. None of them give me beer mugs. I don't remember. So, because I am Schwag. This is Lunar Astro, I guess his name. I don't remember his name. Let's see. It's an Astro. This is Cloudy. The Salesforce admin, right? So I've got swag because I like swag. So I like them because they like giving me swag. So data loader, you can do it. It's kind of automated, but it's also very manual intensive. You can set up all these tasks, importing, exporting, deleting. You set them all up to run on whatever schedule you want. Now, the free version is obviously limited. And if you want different subscription plans, you can, or want to see the limitations, you can see all the limitations here, whether it's $0 a month, $100 a month, or $2.99 a month, and all of the value that they create. Now, I got a client right now that I'm signing them up on Enterprise for a 30-day free trial, get all their data in, and then I'm done with them. And there's other tools out there that do the same thing. Any questions on importing and exporting? Were we descriptive enough? Now, what you might be left with is, well, that's great, Dominic, but what? I'm still kind of lost on what fields are and how the data works. That's fine, because we did data management. Let me pop you back. Let's hop back on the trail. But that's data management. So, and depending on how much you know about data and all that kind of stuff. So remember, we looked at the data modeling. There's objects, fields, and records. Objects, records, and fields. Standard and custom. And they're all related depending on the lookup values from looking up to one table to another creates the relationship. Now, we're about to change and to hit the next trail. Does anybody have any questions about data modeling or data management from the two previous trails? Now, this is a much larger trail. We won't get finished tonight, obviously, and maybe through next week. But we're going to start talking about customizing that, because that's great to understand. You can move stuff in and out, but the whole purpose of Salesforce is to capture the data your business needs to make the kinds of decisions your business makes. Gil, that's what I call a clippable moment. When I start having you edit some of these videos, I will get you to work with Amy. You can see how to do it. But if you endeavor to do it right with Salesforce, then everything that happens in real life can be reflected in data. And what that means is, if you make good decisions in real life based on data, then you'll have a collection of that data in Salesforce. So this is some repeat. We've done some of this before, so it may go faster. It may go a little slower, who knows? But we're gonna jump into some serious customizations, and it's gonna take us, I think it's gonna take us this much time or more. So it may be a combination, and we're still getting our back end working with the SuperHero class on the line. I know some of y'all have already logged into it, and we're gonna move. We're starting to move. All the videos are loaded there, by the way. For every session, the video of that session is there. And the trails are getting there. The trails that we use are getting there. But for now, this is the path we're on. So the next thing, then this is what we'll talk about, like some of the customizations you can make, especially in Lightning as well. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So in this one, we're going to talk about setting up your orgs. What types of custom data do you need to collect for your business? Brian, I'm going to use you as an example because I helped set you guys up with your wingman, right? So when a lead comes in, like a business card, it's really important before you pursue that to know from a scheduling standpoint. Brian works for a public speaker, so he gets scheduled for events. And if somebody wants to give him $1 million to come talk at an event that's on January 3rd, but he's already got an event scheduled for January 3rd, it's an automatic no. Unless it's really an event for $1 million, and you can always move it around. But if one of the criteria I need to make a decision whether to pursue this person for this thing is, am I available as a speaker? I just look on my calendar. So anything that comes in where I already have something booked, I'm a no. Now, that creates a decision tree. Now, what do I do with it? Do I tell them no and go? Or I say, no, but check this out. I got something else for you. I have another journey or path you can go on. I got a guy that looks just like me, but a lot, a foot taller or a foot shorter or a foot wider or a foot funnier, whatever. And you can start giving the person options, but you already know something about that particular lead that sends you on the correct journey with that customer. So we're going to talk about custom objects and custom fields, how to create and edit custom objects and fields, and then how to create a custom tab for that object. I think we haven't done this yet. I'm pretty sure. So Ursa Major Solar is one of those companies that we do business as in the training world. They sell solar. They've got about 200 employees, not all of them on Salesforce. I wish they were. Those are good projects, buddy. Come across those, let me know, because we'll work on those together. And if they're expanding their business, you need to start collecting different information. So here's what you need to think about as you think about your org. It's every record indicates something, a trail marker. Let's call it a trail marker on your journey with the customer. So when you are on a journey with a customer, you're going to have conversations, interactions, agreements, deliverables, requirements. You're going to have a whole back and forth, right? You're collecting stuff, you're giving stuff away. It's just you're dropping stuff, you're picking stuff up at your company. All those things happen. And when you're really using Salesforce as the operations administrator, which is really what this class is, it's a Salesforce sales and operations administrator class. Like you're administering what happens. You got to think about every granular step in the process in order to get the most value. The problem is you could spend the next 5 years getting everything in Salesforce, and the way the world is today, your whole business model will be different by the time you're done. So we like to take it in iterations. We like to take it in big chunks and try to shorten up some of the connecting points with maybe a little more, and then start adding in more touch points for data. So, but a custom object is one of those things that, just represents a big portion of your business. So for example, you might have a thing, okay, so an event, we talked about activities, right? An event is a commitment you put on your calendar, right? And it's at a specific date, time, location with people involved, right? It's an event. Well, all of those events that happen in all the different places might create a lot of clutter and noise for your sales process and your marketing department to get really clear on one key thing that you do. Let's say you do a discovery presentation, like a brand new customer comes on board, you gather up your banner and your PowerPoint and your clicker, and you go to their office and you have your dog and pony show, right? And that's what you do. And during that dog and pony show, you've got a person from our company, a person from their company. You got to coordinate with them beforehand. You got to do all this other stuff, right? So it's a little project that's like other things, but you really want to keep it separate. So you might call those intro sessions. And you might want to create a separate database a separate object, table of data object, to keep track of all of those away from the noise of everything else. And again, that's really the point of Salesforce. It's, can you look at the things you want to look at while eliminating the noise of everything else? And that noise is what gets in the way of you thinking clearly, making good decisions, right? Because you can't focus because there's too much stuff. You can't get everything out of the way so you can see what it is, clearly targeting your objective as the hunter that you are, right? So you create a custom object. It might be for those events. It might be for your color palette or whatever that happens to be. So again, Salesforce gives you a whole bunch of standard objects, which we'll talk more about in customization, about how to leverage those standard objects because of the standard functionality built in and onto those objects. You don't want to lose all that by building it from scratch. However, as a note, just so you know, You could build all of Salesforce from scratch and do it at, I think it's $50 a month a user. Maybe you could negotiate that depending on users for what's called a force.com license. You can build everything any way you want, build it from scratch. But you're building all the functionality from scratch too. But any of the standard core functionality. And that's just, I don't know, something to do, but I don't know why you would do it and lose 20 years of innovation plus all of the resources in improvement that go along with it. So it doesn't make any sense to me, but you could do whatever you want. You're a grown-ass person. So we're going to create a new object, a new custom object in Lightning in this example. So, so we're going to create an energy audit object, right? And that's designed to keep track of all of our energy audits. What are yours? I know, Julia, you work with Computer Futures. You guys recruit candidates. You also have jobs. Those things come in. You can't just list that as an activity. Oh, yeah, I've got a job. Somebody work on this activity to fill that job. I think there's too much noise and junk that'll just, you won't figure out what to do with it. So you create job opening and all of the related records, and it's easy to kind of see it. So we're going to create an energy audit object. We'll copy that. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to break this guy out again. Oops. That allows me to just split my screen. So I'm just in the middle of this right now. Here, I'm going to go to my object manager. So if you're not in setup or on the page, Ursa Module, I'm just going to demonstrate this to you. You could do it on your own later if you want, just want to watch. But from here, I'm going to click create because I'm in the object manager. I got a list of all my objects. None of them say energy audit. So I know I can create it. I'm going to click create a custom object. I know you saw create custom object from spreadsheet. That's a new feature. That's advanced. Let it go. I'll get to it later. Plus, I've never used it. So I've seen it used. I've never used it. So there's my energy audit. My plural is energy audits. So if I got more than one, it starts with a vowel because energy is a vowel. Plus, I can see it starts with a vowel. But they're talking about phonetically more than not. Now, I'm creating a custom table of data. Let's look at the things that I can do because I said, global search searches everything. Put activities on anything. Kind of, mostly true. Could be some variation. Here it is. So let's look at the page. If I scroll down the page, again, I should put a description on it to tell my future self what the hell this is if it's not part of my daily vernacular, but energy audits. Now, what am I doing in here? I'll tell you what I'm doing right now. Show you what I'm doing. Actually, you may or may not be able to see it any better. There we go. Notice I'm putting a description, right, with some key information. Now, there's places I can go to find this, but when I'm at the object, I want to see this here as defined by why did I put that? It's called covering your admin. You're not only telling yourself what it is, why it is, but who said so and when, like a good note, it's a backup. So those of you that worked in hostile environments or stupid environments, it doesn't hurt you to tell all the information around it. It's your description for your future self and your future defense if you happen to need it. If somebody says, why'd you do this? And I go, I did that because Bob said so. And Bob goes, Bob, you said so. And he said where to look for it. Executive briefing in Salesforce. And I mean, you put it anything, anywhere you want. So it says, do I want to open the standard help page when I'm on this record or a custom Visual Force page? Now, Visual Force, if you don't remember, is Salesforce's version of HTML. It's Salesforce HTML. HTML. It's hypertext markup language or internet language or the Algor language, whatever you want to call it. A record name, remember every record has a name, so this would be energy audit name. I think that's what it needs to say. Do I want to allow, where's my allow search? I want to allow search, right? Do I want to allow reports? Do I want to allow activities? Do I want to track changes in fields, changes? Do I want to allow in chatter groups? All of these things you decide while you're creating an object. You can go back and edit them if you want, but you can decide them here. Again, it does not say that we should add these, so I'm going to leave them off because maybe you don't want those things. Energy audits are not reportable. They're something else. It's whatever's true about your data for your company, your customization. So in development or deployed, whenever you see those things, it means basically shared or not shared. Is it ready for prime time, or is it still a draft mode, or is it published? How you want to do it, deployed or in development? The reason I say that is because there's a question around record report types, not record, report types, that says, hey, you created report types so nobody can see them. Why? It's because you didn't deploy them. You're still making them ready for prime time. They're not ready. So whenever you see in development or deployment or deployed, it's just basically active or draft. And then when we're done, we're going to launch the tab wizard. I think we did this already once before. I'm sure we did. And I'm going to click save. So now my wizard's going to pop up. And again, wizards have special powers. I'm going to make my screen a little smaller just because Lightning doesn't render well. So you pick, this is a classic pick. And I mean that you're picking this for classic. It never shows up like this in Lightning. I imagine this will go away at some point. But my energy audit, I could pick any icon or color that I think, you know, matches. So what would an audit look like to me? I think if there's a clipboard, I'm going to go for that. I don't see the clipboard. So I'm going to go with chalkboard. It doesn't really matter. Or I could go with, I think they have in there sun. It doesn't really matter which one you do. But for this one, it said select the sun, color scheme, and icon. So you know what? I'm going to follow that instruction in case that's one of the requirements. I don't want to go back and change it when it tests that I do it right. Did I do it complete? Because, you know, sometimes it does care. I'm going to go next. Now, this one is saying leave it default on, default off. We talked about this before. So default on, anybody, any profile that has access to that object, by default, they're going to have a tab for that object. Otherwise, it's default off, which means it's in the all items list, or it's hidden altogether. But just because it's hidden doesn't mean they can't get to it some other way. So in this one, I'm going to leave it default on because that's the default that they're asking us to leave it at. And then which apps? Remember, apps are nothing but collections of tabs. If this tab is not appropriate for one of the apps, then keep it out of there. Take it away from that app. So I'm going to click on include, and I'm only going to include it in the sales app. My sales standard app will have that available to it. Okay, I'm going to click that. Now, these are the details. This is my energy audit. I created it. It's there. Look, it's energy audit. It's got its custom name, _C, whether I can enable reports, and I can change all of these things. These are my fields and relationships, which I can add fields to it. I can change the way the pages are laid out. I can change the lightning record pages. All these things, I now have control over customizing this table of data so that it's robust to meet my needs. Now, we are going to add some custom fields, and I'm copying the names of the fields. So from here, thank you, sir. We're going to go to fields and relationships. Everybody with me? Is anybody lost? We'll kind of end with this. I'm going to click on new field. Now remember, we picked the type of field. I know we've done this before. This time we're going to go pick list. A pick list is just a set of text values that you can use to speed up data entry, keep the data consistent for filtering and reporting purposes, and limit what users can actually enter into the database by limiting the fields to just the ones that you list, not random data that users tend to put in. So I just put them in there, and they don't have to be alphabetical. Salesforce can alphabetize them for you. Now, a couple things again. I can restrict the pick list to the values defined in my pick list values. So I can limit it to this. Here's what I will suggest. Unless there's only rooftop, carport, or ground, if there's any other variation, what's the problem with 3 pick list values? You can only pick from 3. What about unknown? So whenever I do pick list values, I tend to try to think of a situation where every once in a while, maybe not all the time, but every once in a while, one of my choices I'm not going to know. And if you force people to put in one of the choices that is not true, you're creating an environment where people will lose trust. So whenever you're doing pick list values, especially when they're restricted to those values that you have listed, always give people an option for, I don't know, haven't checked yet, those kind of things. Because, excuse me, in my journey with the customer, I may not know that information yet while I'm saving this record. So be careful what you require, because people will give it to you. And if they have to give you junk, you did that, not them. All right, so I'm going to use the first value as the default value because that's what the instructions tell me. I'm not going to put in help text or anything, but know that I would normally, and I would put in a description. Again, that required field on the field level is called system required. It's part of system validation, which happens before any validation rules based on the content you deliver. And everybody in the org that has access to this object will have access to edit that field. Why does that matter? Well, because the next thing we're going to pick is called field level security. And this is a part of the whole data access model. And this, again, we're coming at this again. If there are some users that shouldn't see some field data, you can restrict that group of users, the entire group, by their profile on what they can and can't see. So while I'll say a lot when it comes to profiles, profiles are just this collection of permissions that a user is assigned. And because I don't want to assign each individual user an individual set of permissions, I just group them all together in what's called a profile. Now, there's a new feature coming called permission set groups, which is kind of like a profile, except it's a little more robust in terms of how you can piecemeal it together. Profiles gives permission. So for the test, and for the sake of just keeping things as probably as simple as I possibly can, profiles grant permissions to groups of users. Your users and you identified that initial group on their user record by their profile. It's a group of permissions that control what they can see and what they can do. So on this example, it wants us to leave all these as they are. But notice I could remove the permission for some profiles to even see that field. I could remove the permission for some profiles that can see it to read their ability to edit it by making it read only. We're going to leave it alone because that's what the instructions say. And then we'll go from there. Now, every object has a default page layout. So when you look at the data, it doesn't look like a table. It doesn't look like a spreadsheet. It looks like a page in Salesforce, right? And we'll customize those pages in a minute. We're just going to leave it. We're going to create a field. We're going to put it on the page. You don't have to put it on the page. It just saves you from having to put it on the page later on. If you know you're going to use it, like the name, then for sure you can just put it on the page down the road. All right. Like I said, the one field's not quite enough. So we're going to add a couple of other fields to it. Excuse me. We'll fix that in post. You guys may never see post. I may never see post, but that's what you can say when you make a mistake on camera. So you need to understand, to do an audit, how much are they spending each month? What are their, what is all that data you collect that you don't want to put on the, on the contact record because he might move and then you got to collect it all again. So it's just separate data about this contact in this moment in time. So we are going to create a couple of accounts, a couple more fields, and then we'll create some energy audit records, and then you'll be assessed on it. So we've only got 15 minutes to do this, so or really 10 minutes. So I'm going to leave you here as this part of your assignment between now and Thursday. And if you have any questions between now and then, Wednesday will be a good time. We'll do a Q&A. Reach out to me. I think we can do it at noon this week. But Amy and I will discuss it, and we'll send out a calendar invite if you want. If you don't get one from us for whatever reason, because there's a million things going on right now, but more importantly, if you don't have a question, don't say anything. But if you do, just email me. We'll schedule it, and then we'll open up to everybody and let you know. Before we go, so this will be your assignment. So I'm going to take that and put it in the chat. So under customize your org, setting up your org, when I finish setting up that custom object you created, add the 4 fields: audit notes, annual energy usage, annual average electric bill, and account. Then create a few records and add the other records, and then test, take the challenge again. So, oh wait, Amy, I sent that link to you and I send it privately. I don't always see the chats, so if you need me to slow down, the participant list has a slow down, and unmute yourself and just say, hey, Dominic, slow down. I get that I can go fast some of these times because it's hard when I don't have your faces. I like your faces to tell me what's happening. And you guys like to hide your faces, and your mic, so that's all good. So any questions or comments about this? I'm going to go through a couple of these just so you can kind of see it's not that difficult. Now, the relationship's going to happen as soon as we click new and we create a lookup relationship. Now, remember, I'm looking up. An energy audit happens with a person. So I got to look up, or with a company. So I got to look up to who are they doing it with. That's a lookup field. It's looking to another table of data to bring that in. A lot of times people just, put that data on, they type it out. I'm looking into computer futures. Well, great. What if I fat fingered my thumb and it says computer futures? And now when I do a report for computer futures, all but that record shows up because I put in filter for computer futures, and computers are dumb. They only do exactly what you tell them. So now I got one record not included in my analysis because I didn't use standard or consistent data. So lookup fields of light have that consistent data. So I'm going to do a lookup relationship. Which object am I looking up to? In this case, it's the account. And I'm always going to require that an audit is associated to an account record. So I can't do an audit on nothing. I have to do it on something. What do I do it on? I'm going to do it on an account. I'm going to make it required. My account is my field name. The field labels account. So it's the label and the name are sometimes the same. The name is always without spaces. So it's an API name. I'm making it required. Always required value in this field. I'm going to click next. Because it's required, I can no longer make this field read only, because now everybody has to be able to put in, anybody that can edit this record has to be able to put in an account because I made it required. I'm going to add it to my page layout. And I'm sorry, I'm going to add it to I'm adding that to my energy audit layout, and I'm adding the energy audit related list. Oh, what is that? To all of my account layouts. Why is that? Let me stop here for a second. This is good to know. An energy audit happens with a company. A company can have many energy audits. I can audit every month. Right? If you have utility bills and I audit them every month, I'm going to put in a database, all of the bills. You're going to have one to many. Each one of the audits will point to your company. But as I do more audits, your company is going to have more audits related to the company record. Does that make sense? So it's a one-to-many relationship. On the audit, there'll only be one company. But on the company, there'll be many audits. So I have to account for how many of these account page layouts do you want to show all the audits. And for this one, I'm just going to leave it all the same because it doesn't really matter. Now, the rest of them, you just create on your own. And if you're running into any trouble, take me a screenshot and we'll go in there. Now, last thing I want to tell you is this. If you go to salesandtechnology.com, I believe everybody on this call is registered in the dashboard. I mean, if you register as a student and you're in your dashboard, I updated the structure. It's the structure, not all the details yet. Because one of the things I was telling Amy is that, look, I'm getting the time, training this class 2 hours at a time creates a unique instructional challenge. One, I got to start up the class. I got to wait for people. I got to repeat what I said a little bit from the last class, and then the meat of the session, then the next class leading up to what that is. So it's kind of like the start and stop. So it's taking a little longer. It's one of the downsides. Now, when I edit this footage to take some of that out where you can self-pace yourself through it, then it'll make better sense via video. But in live class, I don't know why, I just have some need to make sure you're okay before I start moving forward. But you'll be able to see that I've broken out each lesson. Did I not? We did that one. I do not know why my video is not showing up. Yeah, and you're going to get a post of that. Don't even bother with I thought I added that. All right, so clearly, let's see if I updated it correctly. I'm dealing with a new tool here, and so I may not be as up to speed on the new tool. I thought I put the videos in there. but that's okay. All right. So I will make sure that the videos are loaded and they're in there. Sorry about all that. I'll see you guys on Wednesday, if you have a question. Otherwise, I won't hold office hours. But if I do, I'll let everybody know when somebody does it. Any questions, comments, or concerns as of today? No, good to go. All right, everybody, I want to thank you so much. I will see you later. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Jazz. Thank you, Gil. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
All right, I'll see you guys on Thursday.